Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. I thought I would mix this one in here while I'm continuing to do your aliens and UFOs video, mainly because this was an offhand suggestion, something just suggested out of the blue on a comment within one of my videos. See, it goes to show I do read all of your comments here, because normally I pick suggestions in a suggestion list. But here, this one caught my attention so much that I decided to save it and then talk about it here. This has to do with a mysterious city, something that apparently not only remains practically invisible, but also houses a creature, something that's known as an elemental, which is very fascinating to me because I've actually encountered an elemental before during one of my ghost trips over there in Nevada. More on that here in a minute. And so all of these culminated in me wanting to share this story here, this strange city. But it has to do with this. You're looking at it now, or at least a representation of it. It's known as the Lost City of Biringan. Hope I'm saying that correctly. The Lost City of Biringan. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the mysterious information associated with this city. I'll give my own thoughts and opinions, and then a quick short story associated with my encounter with an elemental. So here's essentially what this is. The city of Biringan is an urban legend that's found in the Philippines. You have to go there specifically in order to be able to have any hope, and I mentioned that in quotations, to find something associated with this city. The problem, though, is you don't really want to encounter it. In fact, the locals there absolutely don't want anything to do with it. In fact, there's several guidelines, almost a checklist of sorts, that'll focus on what to do to avoid it altogether and then what to do to get out of it if you do encounter it. But basically, the city of Biringan is a phantom city. It's almost considered a magical city, a mystical city full of these creatures, if you, for lack of a better term, called encantos, which are also a form of elementals. Very hard to describe the encantos. In fact, again, the locals there don't even want you to mention them in that area because that tends to attract the attention of them there. But the encantos are almost these alien-like, elvish, mythological spirits slash elementals, something that are shapeshifters, that use magic, that use mysticism. They can take all forms of different shapes. They can be ethereal, they can be solid, they can mimic anything and everything, and they have a very wide range of powers too, almost to the point where it's like almost earth-shattering. And all of this stuff is basically there within that city. They live there, and they happen to have a strange city. Like, you could imagine skyscrapers, but their version of skyscrapers. You could imagine walkways, or you could imagine houses and so on. That's their type of stuff that they live there. It just happens to be invisible. Now, when I mention being invisible, it is invisible. If you wanted to find the exact location of where this thing is, that's another mysticism of sorts, because there's several islands. There are several areas there in the Philippines that are divided into three provinces: Samar, Northern Samar, and Eastern Samar. And the purported location of this city happens to be between an area called Calboyog City and then also Katamin, somewhere there in Samar. Very hard to, again, discern where or exactly even the close approximation, because it is hidden, it is invisible, it's unknown, and various different encounters, those people that are unfortunate to run into it, they in turn have a very hard time trying to discern where it was that happened. At the same time, they don't want to be able to try to remember where it was. But if you wanted to get as close as possible, that would be it. You would have to go to Calboyog City, somewhere between there and then Katamin, there in Samar. That's where you'll find it here. You might, some of you that are local in some of these cities, ring a bell. Let me know what you think as far as those locations. See if that sounds like anything familiar. The reason why it's also very hard to find this city is because of its invisibility. People see it every now and then. In fact, the location is said to almost pop up out of the blue. It's almost like there's a sudden shafting of light somewhere in the far distance happens just momentarily, like almost to the second, catches people attention. Like imagine someone turning on a flashlight in the far distance and flickering it, and that's what catches the people to turn somewhere. And when they see it, then all of a sudden it disappears, but they're wondering, was something there? Did that happen? Something along those lines. If you see a tree that's called the ballet tree, which you're looking at here, that's also another indication that you're nearby this city. Or if you read some of the other urban legends, it's a set of cities associated with this type of same elementals and so on. But yeah, if you want to, if you do happen to come across this, some cases it's accidental, other cases it's purposeful. Then on the accidental side, it's basically being at the wrong place at the wrong time. For example, you'll know it happens because remember earlier I was mentioning about mysticism, how things just seem so mysterious. Well, apparently these elementals are almost pranksters. They don't even know their own power. The impression I got, it's going to be a bad comparison, but imagine Q from the Star Trek universe, someone that is so immensely powerful that they don't realize the consequences of their actions. The tiniest little thing, the little snap of the Q's fingers, and all of a sudden many things, very large things can change, and to them it's just a simple moments, like it's just something else, like almost like an eyebrow moment of them wondering, is that what happened? And then they just go off to their next adventure of sorts. But that's essentially what these elementals are. They don't know what their power is, or maybe they do, but they also want to be able to keep it in place, or they want to just plain old be evil and have fun with anyone that crosses their location. That's the kind of stuff that they would do. Like, for example, there's noted instances of trucks, bus, and other type of drivers accidentally passing by this city, not realizing it, but all of a sudden saying that the same road, seeing it pass by again and again. I imagine that it's something almost like in the realm of horror, because imagine if you stop at a stop sign, it looks like a stop sign, you see certain indications on it, you familiarize yourself instantly, and then you leave, and then suddenly you come up to that same stop sign again. Then you pass it, and then once again you're back at that same stop sign. It's a continuous loop, and you're wondering to yourself, am I going mad? That's essentially what's happening here. Other instances involve these things playing, again, pranks, but some cases more evil like in other words, they'll take the form of either a beautiful young lady or a handsome man, or the form of treasures themselves, try to attract people over to that location, so that way they'll be able to either get them in just through seduction or forcibly abduct people, and then who knows what they do afterwards. There are reports of fishermen, in fact, being near bodies of water of this city, not realizing it, and then poof, out of the blue, all of a sudden the world is inverted. Like, in other words, their boat is upside down, the sky is the water, and the water is the sky itself. And of course they're wondering at that point, have they gone insane when it comes to that? And even then, these things, these shapeshifters, these elementals, are said to take on appearances of some of the other Filipinos there, and when they do so, they come across the real cities, like the townsfolk that are in somebody's villages or other cities nearby, pretending to be them, trying to find out ways to be able to attract some of those townsfolk over to them, to their locations, and then abduct them, apparently through forms of portals as well. So there's multiple portals that these elementals, these encantos, can also come in and out of at the same time. Now, if you are inside one of these cities by accident, this one in particular, the Biringan city, the way to get out of it is to refuse anything and everything that you see there. Apparently, it's great temptation there. Like, there's going to be food, there's going to be seduction, there's going to be treasures, and so on. You're not supposed to grab, see, like touch, do anything like when it comes to getting a hold of something there, because if you do so, the urban legend goes that your soul will be claimed in that city forever. Your real body is left on the real world, but your soul is basically there in that mythical city for the rest of time. And in your real body, in the real world, it looks like you're in some kind of coma, an unwakeable coma, that'll never have any resolution. So imagine that horror. You realize that you're not in a coma, but for all intents and purposes, everyone else is thinking that. And there you are, trapped within the city forever. Other indications state that if you do come across these things, just again, not do anything with them, ignore them as much as you can. And then I guess they eventually just get tired of the situation and then they let you out because you're almost like no fun. There's nothing else happening to you that they can do because of the situation of it being so stoic. Now, as far as my own encounter with an elemental, I don't know if this was the same exact type of one that's found in Biringan City, but still pretty fascinating. I was over there at a ghost tour in Good Springs, Nevada. Good Springs is a tiny town, like only a couple hundred people. Like my apartment complex has more people than this town, and it's located about maybe 30 minutes outside of Las Vegas. Very haunted though, absolutely haunted. The tour guide said that in that area, it's been known to house elementals. That's the first time that I ever heard of them. And I started asking questions related to it. But I got the impression that you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to really talk about them too much. But the impression I got was this. Elementals are more along the lines of, as I mentioned earlier, unknown of their power. It's just because they don't care. They've been here for so long, longer than people ever existed, longer than most life ever existed, that in their terms, in their way of living, we're nothing to them. It's just a blip when it comes to things. But they're not necessarily nefarious. They just don't care. The closest comparison is, imagine living as a teeny tiny ant somewhere, and then all of a sudden a family comes in and then moves, and then they destroy the lawn, they destroy the area there, they destroy everything, just creating something. They had no bad intentions as far as, harming the ant or killing it outright. You just happen to be in the way. That's essentially the impression I got on those elementals. But yeah, as we were traveling there, walking about the city, then all of a sudden, that's when one of the other guests started to actually communicate with the elemental. Like they started asking it questions and it started responding to the ghost meter that was there. And then that's when the tour guide said, everyone stop. Like he said, he ordered it almost like it was, stop everyone. And then he said to the elemental that was there that they were sorry. They didn't mean to intrude. They're just going to pass by. They don't want anything bad to happen. They just want to be able to go to the next destination. Please let them do so. And so the elemental eventually stopped communicating with us, and then that's when it moved someplace else. And then that's where the tour guide again told us to not try to invite anyone along those lines in that area that has to do with elementals. They warned us about it again. But that's my experience. I might give more details of it there on my membership, so that way I can give the full on story. So be on the lookout for that soon. But let me know what you guys think. Biringan City, anyone there heard of it before in the Philippines area? Let me know what your thoughts are. Sounds like a fascinating thing. Obviously I don't want to be there, like inside that location, but from afar away studying things, it does look fascinating. All right, everybody, thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.